Okay, good evening, everyone, and welcome. I'm Kai from MightyDAO, and I'll be your host for today X Space. It's 10 p.m. here in Taipei, so I'm really happy to see so many of you join us tonight, and thank you for being here. Before we begin, let me briefly introduce MightyDAO. Our mission is to connect high quality talents with opportunity in Web3. And through this career series, we hope to help more people better understand what's the different roles in this industry actually look like. And today we are really excited to welcome Irene. Hi, Irene. Irene is VP of the Growth at Zama.
Hi, great to be here. Thank you so much for the invite. Excited to chat.
Yeah, Irene has spent like almost over 10 years in crypto with experience across growth, ecosystem, and strategy partnerships. So before joining Zama, he worked in optimism and rootstocks, like helping projects to grow and turn idea into real adoptions. Today, we are going to talk about her journey into Web3 and her thoughts on growth and adoptions and what people can do if they want to build a career in this space. So, Irene, really thank you so much for joining us. We are really happy to have you here. To start, Irene, could you please introduce yourself to our audience?
Yes, of course. Hi, everyone. Like Kai mentioned, I'm currently VP of Growth at Zama. I've been in crypto for over 11 years, which is crazy to say. And I can't believe I'm still here, but love the space. It's been a journey, but it's been really, really fun and very excited to talk about it today, Kai.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. I'd love to start by grounding everyone in what you building today at Zama and what your role really looks like there. So for people who may know be new to Zama, could you like briefly help us understand what Zama is building and what problem is trying to solve in Web3?
Of course, yes. So Zama is building privacy infrastructure for public blockchains using fully homomorphic encryption or fhE, which is the holy grail of cryptography. So, in simple terms, it allows computation to happen directly on encrypted data without ever exposing the underlying information or data. So, in the context of on-chain finance, this is a pretty fundamental unlock. Today blockchains are fully transparent by design, which works well for verification, but it breaks down as soon as you try to bring real financial activity on chain, right? Like things like trading strategies, portfolio allocations, credit positions, or even basic transaction intent become very difficult to operate in a fully public environment. So it also creates real tension around compliance, right? So institutions need confidentiality to operate, but they also need to meet regulatory requirements and maintain auditability. So today they're forced often to choose between privacy and transparency. So Zama enables a middle ground. You can keep data encrypted, preserve confidentiality, but still have verifiable compliant execution on chain. That opens the door for more sophisticated financial use cases, from institutional trading to structured products and beyond, that simply today are not viable.
Okay, thank you so much for Irene. I think that's give like everyone a much clearer sense of what Zama is doing, and Zama is doing the fhE that keeps the privacy and encrypted, but it can be calculated. I think it's you see so great. So within that bigger mission, I love to zoom in on your role. Your as a VP of growth, what are you mainly responsible for?
Yeah, so firstly, I joke and say I'm the personality hire, which I love saying. But overall, it's driving adoption for Zama within on-chain finance, which means identifying where privacy is not just a nice to have, but truly essential, especially in areas where transparency starts to break efficiency or limits participation. From there, it's about working closely with partners to integrate Zama into real financial workflows, whether that's trading, lending, or more complex capital strategies. A big part of the role is also focus. There's, a lot of potential applications for this technology, which is amazing. But we need to prioritize use cases that for now at this point of the company is, we unlock, the network effects, we unlock real volume, real users, and sustainable on-chain markets. So at its core, it's about taking a very advanced piece of cryptography and turning it into something that's actually used, it's trusted and embedded in how financial systems operate on chain. Pretty much it.
Wow. Yeah, it's really helpful. Like even just from the part of the conversation you just say, I can like already feel how the privacy is really important it is, and it's why it's matters so much to the future of Web3. So I think it's make the VP and the VP of growth of the role much easier to understand. And I want to make it a bit of more practical for everyone to listen. So what are the main thing you actually spend your time on this role?
Yeah. So most of my time sits working closely with product, with partners, and the market. Right. On the external side, I work closely with DeFi protocols, infrastructure providers, institutional facing partners to design how privacy can be integrated into financial workflows. That can mean thinking about things like confidential trading, private liquidity, etc. On the go-to-market side, I spend time shaping how we position our technology in a way that resonates with financial builders. Privacy is often misunderstood, right? We throw it around. A big part of the work is translating something very technical, very vague into clear value. Why does this matter for your protocol, for your users, or your capital? And internally, a significant part of the role is alignment, right? Making sure that the product team, the engineering team, the business, everything converge on the same priorities. At this stage, focus and clarity are often the more important things, and a key big part of what I do.
Wow, that's so many things. It's really interesting, and like I can already tell how like bored and complex the role is really is, and I really looking forward to hearing more about it. So I think now we have a better sense of what you do today. So I want to go to a bit backwards and talk about how this journey actually start from you. So Irene, why did you want to move into Web3 and what was behind that decision?
Honestly, I fell into Web3 by accident. So I've been in the space for about 11 years, back when it was still called digital currencies. At the time, I was working in the admissions department of the University of Nicosia, and we had just brought in a new CEO who came from Wall Street, and he was very early into Bitcoin. The university partnered with some key players in the space back then, and we launched the first academic course on digital currencies. And they needed someone to help build it into, take it from a single course and operate that into create a full program. And I stepped in mostly because I could communicate well with students, and English was my native language, and I could help structure the experience. It was meant to be temporary, very honestly. I was actually planning to go to medical school, and this was supposed to be a short stop before that, until the year after was when I was admitted. So um, but once I got exposed to the space, I was completely drawn in, not just the technology, but what it represents. I know this is so cliche to talk about, but a different way of thinking about financial systems, ownership, and how value moves globally. I've now been through 5 or 6 cycles. And at this point, it's so hard to imagine doing anything else. What keeps me here is that it still feels like we're really early in redefining something very fundamental. There's so many broken systems today, especially in finance, and Web3 offers a real path to improving them. So being a part of that, even in a small way, is something I find so meaningful. And I'm really happy. And, it was a happy accident falling into crypto, and very conscious decision to stay in it.
Okay. Thank you so much for sharing that. I think it's really interesting that you intro the Web3 like happen in an unexpected way. And today I also feel like you are the one that helping and guide us all of us into this cool world, this fascinating world. And yeah,
Oh, I wouldn't say that, but
and
thank you.
yeah. And thank you for sharing that. I think a lot of audience are like probably still at the stage of wondering how this Web3 becomes something real for them. So it's really meaningful to hear. And after you got into Web3, I love to understand what you kept growing from one role into another. So your career moved from customer success and grows into ecosystem, partnership, and now VP of growth. What changed the most in how you work or thoughts?
Yes. So I think one constant across my career is that I've always worked in very early stage environments. And when you're in those kind of teams, titles matter less. You just need to get things done. You wear multiple hats, you work across functions, and you stay very close to the customer or the partner. And that's always been a core principle for me. The user, the partner, the market. That's what should drive decisions. What changed over time is how I create impact. Earlier in my career, I was very hands on. You driving adoption one partner at a time, solving problems directly, making sure execution happened. But as you move into more senior roles, the leverage shifts. Your impact comes less from what you do yourself and more from the decisions you make. Where you focus, which partnerships you prioritize, and just as importantly, what you choose not to do. You also start thinking more in systems, not just does this integration work, but does this create a new financial primitive, or does this unlock liquidity flows that compound over time? I think the biggest shift is perspective. You move you move from thinking about your own scope and outcomes to thinking about company level outcomes. So sometimes that means deprioritizing things that are working locally because they don't move the bigger picture. So in general, the shift goes from being tactical as you progress to being truly strategic. I think that's probably the most significant change.
Okay, thank you. I think it's important insights. Like the shift is like really powerful moving from the execution to like thinking more about leverage, scale, and bigger ecosystem view. I think it's like really important change in perspective. And I think what's especially helpful is that your journey it also shows how the industry rewards the certain way of thinking and working. So I want to ask Irene, from what you have seen today, what kinds of people or capabilities does Web3 still need the most?
Mm, good question. Tricky question, I would say in this time and age. But I think what I would answer is we need more people who can bridge three things: technology, markets, and now increasingly AI. So there's no shortage of innovation at the infrastructure level. And now with AI, the pace of building is only accelerating. But what's missing is the ability to translate all that into real world usage, especially in on chain finance. Understanding how capital actually moves, how liquidity forms, how incentives shape behavior. Those are still underdeveloped skill set in the space. AI is going to amplify this gap. It will make it easier to build, easier to launch, and easier to experiment. but it won't solve for distribution, market fit, or sustainable demand. If anything, it will increase the number of projects competing for attention. So the people who stand out are the ones who can connect the dots, who can take advantage of technology, whether it's FHE or AI driven systems, and actually anchor it in real financial use cases that people actually care about. The ability to bridge infrastructure and market behavior is still rare. And I think it's becoming even more important.
Okay, thank you. I think it's really useful. You say about the fundamental knowledge and the technology market and AI. So it's help us to understand not only where the opportunity are, but also what's we need to bring into the Web3, the space. And if we now narrow that down a bit, Irene, could you like share with us for someone with non-technical background who want to like move into the ecosystem, partnership or growth role in Web3, what capability do you think they should build first?
Yeah, I would say first you need to build an understanding on how on-chain finance works. You don't need to be technical, but you should understand how protocols generate yield, how risk is managed, how incentives shape behavior. Second, communication, storytelling. Being able to explain complex systems in a simple and structured way is a major advantage, especially in roles that sit between product and market, and especially as we're moving more and more towards bringing Web 2 on Web 3, right? The worlds are converging, your market and your audience is no longer, uh, I would say degens, but I think we know it. People who operate on chain. You're going to be talking to people who don't operate on chain and don't care about the technology. Um, and the third one is developing intuition around incentives and market dynamics. And that would come from experience. So, yeah, so maybe focusing on the first and second points. How does it work and how you can communicate? Those I think are the key things.
Okay, thank you. That's really helpful. And I think that communication that's we like say to the normal people to say what is Web3, it's I think it's really the important thing. So I think it's made the path more clearly. And I want to ask for me and also the audience, and I want to ask Irene and for people who are really interested in Web3 but still doesn't have a real chance to get involved in, would you suggest they do first?
Okay, like the practical part of it, right? So I would say start by participating. As I mentioned, don't just consume, use the products, put capital on chain, understand how things behave in practice. There's like a really big difference between reading about DeFi and actually experiencing how liquidity, slippage, or risk plays out. At the same time, start contributing in small ways. Join discussions, share insights, ask questions. That's how you build a really good understanding, a community, and visibility. And after, I would suggest recommend going deep in an area, whether it's DeFi, infrastructure, privacy. Depth is what makes you useful. That yes.
Okay, thank you. You say I think the it I no sorry, I'm taking note right now. I think every like audience is it's same as me like taking notes because it's like exactly the kind of practical advice we need. So we go deep and then just do it. And before we move into a bigger industry picture, I want to like say a congratulations to Irene and Zama because you recently have a partnership with T-Rex Networks. I think it's really exciting milestones.
Yes, thank you very much. It's a first big step, and we're very, very excited for the partnership and a big validation to how institutional finance, how enterprise needs privacy.
Okay, and with that in mind, I love to zoom out a bit and talk about where you think the Web3, the industry heading next. What do you think the privacy matters so much for the future of Web3? And if it becomes more real and usable, what do you think it could change in the markets?
So without privacy, on-chain finance remains structurally limited. You cannot have meaningful institutional participation, sophisticated trading strategies, or advanced financial products if everything is fully visible. It introduces too much risk, from front running to information leakage. And many times it's also, there's a lot of actual um, legal limitations when things are public. Once privacy becomes usable, composable, it completely changes how the shape of the market. You can now have confidential order flow, private positions, more efficient capital deployment, and new types of financial instruments. It also makes compliance more realistic. You can selectively reveal information where needed rather than exposing everything by default. So privacy isn't just improving what we have today, it enables new layers of financial activity on chain. Right now, institutions are only dabbling. We see them launch a stable coin, we see them doing XYZ, but it is really all right at the moment, very much R&D. We don't have significant financial activity, and this is an unlock privacy will bring.
Wow, thank you. Thank you so much, Irene. I think it's helped us to see privacy as something it's really more fundamental than people often assume. So if we like connect it to the border markets, I love to ask about something may teams struggle with. So Irene, from what you have seen, why do some projects get real adoptions? Why others only manage to launch?
So the biggest difference, I think, from those that just launch to those that get adoption is, plugging into actual real behavior. Projects that get adopted solve a clear problem in a way that fits naturally into how users or capital actually moves. They reduce friction, improve efficiency, or unblock something that wasn't possible before. A lot of a lot of projects launch with interesting ideas, but they don't integrate into existing workflows or create enough to pull sustainable usage. The ones that succeed are usually very focused, very clear on their value proposition, and extremely disciplined about distribution.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. You clarify the difference between launching and something that's actually like getting people to use it and know it. So I want to ask more about Zama. What's are the biggest thing you need to your Zama need to achieve over the next few years?
Um, yeah, so milestones for Zama, right? So
Yeah?
I'd group them into, I think, three key milestones. First, ecosystem integration. Privacy can't exist in isolation. It needs to be embedded into the core infrastructure and financial primitives people are already using. That means integrating into major protocols, L2s, key players in on chain finance so that privacy becomes part of the default stack rather than something experimental on the side. Right? You need to find the users where they are. You can't ask them to move and change their behavior. The second, it's proving real high value financial use cases, not just technical demos, but live applications where privacy is essential and where you can see meaningful activity. That's where you move from interesting technology to something the market actually demands. And the third one I would say is developer and protocol adoption. So making sure you have the right tooling in place, the SDKs, if developers can easily integrate privacy into their applications, that's when you see the actual compounding effects across the ecosystem. So, in my perspective, if we get those right, integration, real use cases, developer adoption, then privacy, becomes something that's not just possible on chain, but expected. And, overall, the way we see it as Zama is at some point, everybody will be, operating in a confidential state. It will be the default. And Zama is just a part of the stack. It's in the background. You don't even know what's happening. The users don't know what they're using, right? I think we all talk about this for many, many years, what the endpoint of blockchain technology is. And we always say that it's when users operate as they operate today on the internet as we know it, right? We don't care the technology behind it. And that's the end state for us as well. You'll be working on it, operating, doing what you're doing, and it'll just be private as it should, right? And so that's a few ways that I feel the milestones to get us there.
Okay, thank you. And if those are you say the three biggest milestones ahead, like growing the ecosystem and bring more like real financial on chain. And may I ask more deeper? And as you are the VP of growth, and what's your role need to do, like help make it happen?
Can you repeat that? I'm sorry.
Sorry, 那个you say you say you have three like big milestone ahead: the
Yes.
ecosystem and the
Yes.
real financial. and and what I want to know more about, what does your role need to do to help this like happen?
Oh, yeah, great question. I think for my role, for I think for just keep focus, um, keep identifying what users and institutions actually what is valuable to them, where we bring value. And I think that will slowly translate into hitting those milestones.
Okay, thank you so much, Irene. I think you gave us like more clearer picture about the Zama is today and also the future you are trying to build. And I'm really want to thank you so much, Irene. I think today conversations I think gave us so much to think about from your journey, and also like you grow in Web3 and the industry may heading next. So I think we're like limit on time, so I'm sure many audience still have questions they love to ask. So I'm love to open it up for Q&A now. So if anyone has question for Irene, please feel free to request to speak and we'll invite you up. Anyone? You can use the request to speak and we will invite you up. Okay. I think while we wait for more question, I want to ask Irene one more question from my side. So, like when team says, okay,
Hi, Irene. I'm Julie from MightyDAO, and I have a question for you. How did you know it was time to take the next step in your career, and what did each transition require you to learn or let go of? Thank you.
Oh, interesting. Like moving from one role to the next.
Yeah.
The way okay. The way I see it usually is everything I do, I want to make sure I feel like I'm learning and that the impact I have is significant. So when I feel that the one or those two things start being compromised, I start reflecting if there's either some change I can do and usually I maximize what I feel my impact could be. And when the learning starts decreasing, I start, looking at what my next steps could be. I was very privileged to have really great relationships and really great companies and mentors that I've worked with. And usually that's when I start looking and defining where I would see my career go. Did that answer your question, Julie?
I think
Thank you. That's very useful. Thank you for your insight.
Okay, if everyone has question for Irene, please feel free to request to speak. And I think someone sent the request, but you need to accept it, and you will be okay. You can talk it. So please, someone who requests to speak, please like push the accept button.
Okay, hello Kai, hello Irene, I'm Raymond. I have a question about how do you personally measure success in your role as a VP of growth? Thank you.
Can you repeat? How do I measure success? Is that what you said?
Okay, how do you personally measure success in your role as VP of growth?
Yeah. Oh, that's a great question. That's a really good question. So I think the way I measure, firstly, my role is tied to a lot of the outcomes that we see on, right, at a company level. Usually when you own and you have a team, you define KPIs to see that the outcomes of the different decisions you make and strategies you build, that they work. That's a part of it. The second part, though, is also that I want to see that like this role I'm taking on is a step up in being part of a more at the executive level, being able to define strategy, work with the founders, work with the other executive leaders. And a big part is for me with this role is learning and growing into this. So for me, defining success is also feeling that I've succeeded to do that I see myself growing into a better leader and into a better mentor, and building a good sense of in the privacy industry as well. Learning more about it and being able to contribute.
Okay, thank you very much. I will keep learning. Thank you.
Hello.
Hi, anyone?
Hi, Irene. This is Sober from MightyDAO. And because you mentioned the milestone of Zama is to build real use cases. So could you share some example of which potential clients would be your priority, or what type of clients you are targeting? For example, such as banks or family offices, or what the type of the clients that will be your priority?
Yeah, great question. I think I would slightly reformat the question to like look at it from a different perspective. The way we assess who would be like the good initial market we go for, I think, is more about understanding where can we bring immediate value, and that's how we approach it. Where do we see right now that the lack of privacy is a pain point, either restricting or limiting on-chain financial operation? And one of those flows that we've identified is corporate payments. So when we say corporate payments, that could be salaries, payroll, on-chain settlement. And from there, we come to find those companies that would be operating and doing. So what companies do B2B corporate payments on chain, cross-border payments? Those flows are the ones that we tap into and can bring immediate value. And that can be PSPs, that can be fintechs, exchanges. Those are the places we can immediately integrate and show the real value of what Zama can bring to the table.
Okay, great. Thank you.
So, Irene, I have questions to ask you. Actually, more about really appealing, especially you the leader role in commerce as a growth for Web2 and Web3. A very unique perspective. Our business is delivered in
Jane, I am so
so
sorry, but I don't know if it's my connection, but I keep hearing break in your voice. Can you repeat that? Yeah.
okay. Sorry, I will try my best. Okay, yeah. The good news you was really, especially you have a customer. Sorry, hear me. Customer success and operation across both Web 2 and Web 3. So can you hear me clear now?
I think I can hear you now. Yes. Can you please repeat from the
Oh, great.
beginning? Thank you, by the way.
Yeah, yeah. Because your background actually, we would really like to know this kind of unique perspective on business value is evolved in different segments. Because it's the product from 2 to Web 3, you own it to E. It's really amazing. Some from a different like relationship management process or business role. So we'll use the planning session to make kind of a transit smoothly, especially for the knowledge improve or connections. Thank you.
I still had Kai, did you understand the question? Or it was the connection on my end?
Yeah, I think maybe Jane, your connection is a little bit lost. So may you like rejoin, or you can use the words, the message to leave on the threads on the post, because we can like hear you really clearly. The some words were lost, so we cannot really understand the question you want to ask.
Yeah, please do, Jane. I'm very, very interested to hear your question.
Okay, I got the Jane's question. So I asked from her. So Jane wants to ask, if someone's come from relationship management, customer success, or other business facing role, how would you suggest they start moving forward to the kind of Web3 career paths they built?
Yes, and actually something I've actually discussed the past couple of days. So very relevant timing of this question. Um, the biggest gift I feel for someone who's working in a relationship management role is the understanding of customers. These roles build a skill in the people who operate them because they shift the way you operate and by nature put the customer in the pedestal, which is the position it should be across the board, right? And one of the hardest things is to align internally the most companies, all companies, to have this put the customer in that position and build and operate for them. And people who operate in customer success, relationship management naturally do that. So that gives these people a one up. From there, I think it's the biggest thing I found is you want to position yourself in a way internally to contribute to strategy. So have a voice. Make sure you do champion your customers. Try to see where you can connect the dots and bring as much value to them. And slowly you'll be brought in to have a lot more um, I would say contribution to the other operations and how it impacts the customer. Um, when you start taking a position in a company where you stop thinking in a silo for what you're directly contributing to and thinking at a global impact internally, that's when you start shifting and your role can take many different dynamics. You can enter, management, relationship, account, customer success management by having a team. You can enter sales, BD. You can enter product. There's many paths you can take because it's such an intrinsically complex cross-functional role. So my recommendation is make sure you're a good champion for your customers, understand exactly how they behave and what they need, and have a voice, and don't be afraid to be strategic internally and speak up.
Okay, thank you, Irene. Jane, it's okay from your sides?
Sorry for my poor internet connect. I just get the final some wording from Irene, but I really appreciate some encouragement. I can hear that. So some details I may contact to Kai after this talk. Thank you.
Yes, please do. And I want to say,
Thank you.
especially women, we are we think a lot more before we do speak up, and we judge ourselves and we're harder on ourselves. So one of my mentors told me, don't be afraid to hold space and speak up. And we should forget being wrong is not a bad thing. And everyone is wrong at some point. And that's how you learn. So that would be my advice.
Yep, thank you.
Hello, Irene. One more question. As you mentioned, corporate payment, fintech, or exchanges would be your priority client at this moment. So, may I know more about what's the main challenges you may face? Like it's more a competition, competition from other privacy protocol, or the compliance issues, or something else.
That's a great question. So there's a lot of things right now that I feel we have to overcome. The first one is there's a big educational barrier. So privacy became trendy. Everyone now, it's like the new meta, everyone's talking about it. But if you actually start having conversations, you realize that everybody has such a different definition of what privacy is. So there's a big leveling of the field of how do we define privacy? What is actually required by these institutions, enterprise to come on chain? Um, the second part, I think the biggest friction and thing we need to overcome is that because we're at this transition state, the different companies, institutions, enterprise that are looking to come on chain have been evaluating the technology with transparency already taken into consideration, right? And they've made some decisions to go on chain in spite of that. We need to now bring into the table that privacy that's composable, that's compliant, that's XYZ is actually on the table, and start working with them is like a whole new paradigm of thinking of what they can do on chain. So I think those are the two biggest things. And yes, there's a lot of competitors. Where we stand at Zama, though, we don't see that being um, very significant, because what we do is very different to the different other types of privacy protocols right now. We bring composable, compliant privacy on public blockchains. Um, so I would say those are the two biggest ones: education and getting through this transitionary period and working with these different institutions and enterprise, and getting over this, I would say, chicken and egg problem. Those, I think, were the two big ones.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, anyone else? Would anyone else like to ask some questions? Feel free to push the button to request to speak. Okay, I have one more question from my side while we waiting for more questions. So I want to ask Irene, when teams say they want to have the adoption. Why do you think they mostly often misunderstand about it?
I think it's very contextual what adoption means for different projects. I would say is the first one. Um, I
Okay.
don't know if it's misunderstanding or more so the approach they take to adoption and how to build it. That is where most teams maybe, I would say, might fail. Um, we went through a big phase in crypto where everything was incentivized, everything we did, there was airdrops, XYZ, and that tailored to a specific type of user. And we knew, most people knew, most of them were just farmers. They're not here for the long haul. So I think it's about we're still figuring it out in crypto. I think now we're entering a new era. Crypto's maturing, new players are entering, the space is consolidating. And I think this is changing. How we define adoption is changing. The user is changing, the end user is changing. So I think that we're going to be in a different position. We're starting to be in a different position. And we're now looking at things less so from we're a crypto protocol perspective and how we build a strategy, and shifting towards we're just a company and we use blockchain technology as part of our infrastructure, but the norms of a startup and a business apply into how I build my GTM frameworks and what creates a sustainable business. And that's where we're entering. So we'll see a lot more traditional strategy entering the space, which I'm excited for, right? Because that's where you know that we're entering and being taken seriously. The user is now sophisticated. We're not just here for the overnight bags, as much as it sounds fun and is cool, but that's not sustainable. So yeah, that would be my answer.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I think I know it's vary from different protocols, and I think I know, and I really got a lot from your answers. So thank you so much. And would anyone else like to ask?
Sorry, one more last questions from my side. Because you have been in the industry over 11 years, it's incredible. So, may I know your perspective? How do you see the space, the industry evolving over the next 3 to 5 years? Yeah. I would like to hear from your perspective, maybe on global trends or the markets you are familiar with.
Yeah, I think I touched upon this a bit before. I really think that we're moving into the era of blockchain as financial infrastructure. I think we're starting to see, unfortunately, of course, that many projects are now that have been in the space for so long are now shutting down, being bought out. Um, Web 2 is entering the space at a significant pace and trying to figure out how they best position themselves. Um, so the way I see the next 3 to 5 years playing out is blockchain just becomes another part of the Web 2 stack. And I foresee a real big shift to a lot more of to the space as we know it right now. I'm excited for it. I'm also sad for it. There's a lot happening. It's internally also very chaotic when I think about it as somebody who's been here for so long, because we're changing a little bit what crypto is and where we started out. but it's exciting because you see that, you know, we are shifting how things operate, which is exciting. I think we'll see stable coins get more prominent as well. I mean, it's already starting to be a big part of the conversation. And also we'll see a lot more banks coming on chain. We'll see a lot more of established Web2 flows translate and come on chain. That's what I foresee. Yeah, let's see. I mean, that's the bet we're taking. I mean, hence privacy. That's the bet I took when I joined Zama. I truly believe that if we solve privacy, we'll eventually become a natural stack of Web 2.
Great, thank you. Yeah, I agree with you. The privacy would help institution capital on board Web3 or on board on chain. Yeah, thank you for your sharing. Very inspiring.
Thank you.
Hello, would anyone else want to ask the questions? Okay, so before we wrap up, Irene, is there anything you'd like to share with us, like about Zama, any recent updates or like final thoughts for the audience?
Thank you so much for having me. It was really, really great talking about Zama, talking about myself. If anybody wants to chat further, just send me a message. Happy to chat. And yeah, it was a pleasure to talk with you, Kai, and the MightyDAO
Okay,
team for hosting, of course.
okay, thank you. Really thank you again for Irene for joining us and for being so generous with your time and your perspective tonight. I think all of the audience, including me, it's really learned a lot from you. So, and I want also to thank you as well to everyone who joined us on live. So we really appreciate your time and MightyDAO will continue to invite Web3 professionals from around the world to share their career journeys, challenges, and insight in their industry. So if you have any takeaway from today's, we love you to share them with us on LinkedIn, X, Instagram, or Threads. This interview will also be available on MightyDAO YouTube channel. So if you want to listen again or because Irene had so many really we can really learn from you. So I think everyone needs to listen again, and you can also share with your friends. So please don't forget to follow MightyDAO on LinkedIn, X, Instagram, and YouTube. So for more updates about the Web3 careers and future events, and also don't forget to follow Zama and Irene. Yeah. And once again, I really want to thank you all, Irene, everyone, the MightyDAO so much. And ehavisto in Greek thank you. And for
Ευχαριστώ.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah, ehavisto for your valuable insights, and thank you everyone who joined us today. So hope to see you all again in next MightyDAO space. So everyone have a great rest of your day.
Ciao.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Bye bye.